and it has to be around a book. And some schmuck gave him the money. 7 years. And I don't know, I mean, I've lived in Hollywood. I mean, you know, it's not the most honorable place on the face of the earth. People don't make those kinds of sacrifices, because, I mean, he could have made the movie 100 times over if he had just not stuck to this, doggedly stuck to this concept. And yet he stuck, not only by me, but he stuck by his own aesthetic vision of, why make the movie unless I can make it the way I want to make it? And I've never seen that before, and I've never seen it since. And so, you know, I am the recipient of something very, very unique. It's like almost like a unicorn. You know?
And once the movie was greenlit,
you didn't think I'd get unicorn in a sentence, did you? I mean that in a completely heterosexual way.
We understand. So once the movie was greenlit, you cracked open the comics and you fell in love with the character?
Yeah, I said to myself, he said, you should start reading the comic books. I said, I'm not going to read them because you're already in love with the idea of me as him. If I fall in love with the idea of me as him, and then find out that Nick Cage is doing this, then I'm really going to be in a rubber room, you know. So I refused to invest myself. When he finally told me he got it done, then I just went out and read everything and hung out with Minnesota and picked his brain. And we set about collaborating, you know, what turned into Hellboy 1 and Hellboy 2.
That's awesome. So I know you guys want to talk around too. Lined up, there's a mic here and I think a mic right there. And while they get lined up, why don't you tell us how Sons came about?
Well, Sons came about right at the time when Hellboy 2 was coming out, and Hellboy 2 was distinguished even more so by the fact that Guillermo had just made Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth got on every single top 10 list in the entire Western world, Europe, Asia, Eastern and Western, America, United States, North America, South America. That movie was a masterpiece. And everybody wanted to see, okay, what is he going to do next? And what came next was Hellboy 2. So I was the beneficiary of all of this attention and love, unlike the first Hellboy movie, which was big enough, but not nearly as scrutinized. And right at that point, they were looking for Clay Morrow on Sons, and I sat down with Kurt. It was the last civilized conversation he and I ever had. And I ended up doing that show for 6 years.
All right.
I'll let you guys figure that shit out.
I'm not gonna go there. Go.
All right, make sure it's on. I kind of have two questions because one was from my mom and she had insisted I ask.
You have a question for your mom?
Well, from me.
Oh, from your mom?
Yeah. One, since you've been in KC most of the weekend, what barbecue have you tried and which ones, and did you like it? And two, what role did you pass on really go, fuck, why did I take that one?
Oh, I've never passed on anything. IMDb, man. This dude will do anything. Zero standards. The roles have passed on me, but I never passed on anything.
And have you had barbecue this weekend?
They served barbecue here yesterday for lunch, and I was planning on going out last night and doing a barbecue run because I've talked to 25 Uber drivers, 32 cab drivers, 15 doormen at hotels around the town. And everybody has their own version of what the best barbecue. So can we get a consensus? What's the best barbecue?
No.
No.
So that's
There's
the
no
problem.
consensus.
That's the problem. Is that there's no consensus. I guess, you know, it's like it's a free for all.
Okay, great. All right, we're gonna go right here in the middle.
I had a Snickers bar for dinner last night.
see, but this guy right here. Hi.
Hi, Ron. I'm Sydney Storm. I'm from the Sons of Anarchy. We got a picture here.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, we're the rulers of bad habits, and thank you. You mentioned nobody ever came up with that pun before, and that just is very validating. Anyway, but my question isn't about Sons. It's actually about that time spent in the makeup chair with Hellboy and back when you did like Beauty and the Beast. Which of the two took longer to sit in the chair and get all the makeup done?
They were exactly the same on a normal day. So 4 hours on a normal day. And they both were 6.5 hours on non-normal days. Wow. And I don't know whether that's an unwritten rule, but that's what happens on every time I do one of these makeup jobs. It takes 4 hours, no more, no less. And then if you have a special day where you have to like feature the hands or the pectorals or whatever, it's 6.5 hours.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now over here. Hi.
Hey, Ron.
So,
what's your favorite cuss word, number one?
my favorite curse word?
Yes.
You know, they've taken a couple of my favorites off the market, you know.
Okay, well, do what you can.
I'm not allowed to even say them out loud.
Is Peg Bundy really as sexy?
I thought if Trump was going to accomplish anything, it's just political correctness bullshit, right?
Yeah, well, 20, buddy, I'm there for you. I'll do your campaign, man. But Peg Bundy is really as sexy up front, you know, on Sunday night.
Is she sexy up front?
Yeah.
She's not bad from behind either. Dead, man, it's dead. We tried. And we tried, and we tried, and we tried.
Hi.
I thought of you first as soon as I found out cable was going to make it to the big screen.
Can you believe they dialed the wrong number?
Is that true?
Yeah, man, they meant to call me, but they, for some strange reason, they called Josh Brolin. I don't know.
I just discovered today, actually.
I mean, I don't get that at all. Like Josh needs to fucking work.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. I just want to say, you killed Piney, and what the fuck?
I asked myself that. What was I thinking when I killed Piney? Somebody had to kill him. Oh, talk. Fucking tricycle and everything. You know, Jesus Christ. Annoying. He was annoying. He kept attacking me. He didn't like me very much. I don't know if you noticed that. He had it coming, motherfucker.
Thank you. Hi.
Hey Ron, what kind of projects are you working on right now?
I'm doing a TV show for a new startup network called Crackle. The show is called Startup. It's already has one season on the air, which I'm not involved in. They introduced me in the second season. I'm working on that right now. And I have a movie coming out this month called Chuck, about the fighter Chuck Wepner, who had his moment in the sun fighting Ali and went the distance. And that's Leanne Shriver plays Chuck. I play his manager. And then I have my own production company, and I have one picture in post-production, 2 pictures in pre-production, which we'll be doing in New York. In this month we start. You're not with the IRS, are you? Did I just get audited?
Maybe.
You want to see receipts? I got receipts. Where's my receipts?
Do you have a preference, film or television? Do you care?
I find film and television to be kind of interchangeable because they're the exact same process in terms of how your day starts and ends, you know. You get in a van in the morning, you go to work, you film out of sequence all day long, you break for lunch, you come back, you film some more, you go home. And that's the same in television and in films. So the actual sensation of the difference of the two is kind of non-existent. You know, the outer trappings, of course, are quite different. If you're doing a big tentpole movie, like a franchise movie like Hellboy, that's a finite amount of time on, usually on location. So you're taken away from the reality of your life and turned into this, you know, complete fantasy world, which is why so many people leave their wives and husbands and get into all kinds of problems with drugs and alcohol. No, I didn't mean to go there, did I? That's kind of a Paul fellow in the room. It's a bummer, man. Where was I?
They're pretty interchangeable in the structure. Yeah. We can go over here. Hi.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were done with being Ron the narrator in Fallout games, or if you ever plan on doing that again.
It's one of those things, man. You know, I don't call the shots on that one, but they've done 5 Fallouts now, and I've been involved in all of them. So they keep calling me. If they keep calling me, I keep showing up. You know. That's how that works.
So you've done like live action and you've done voice work. Do you have some kind of preference?
You know, no, I don't have a preference. I really love acting. I love like playing other characters. I find it to be like, some people like jigsaw puzzles, some people like crossword puzzles, but I find it to be like solving a puzzle. You know, the act of figuring out who the character is, what he sounds like, what his background was, you know, how he moves through the world, what his value systems are. It's all stuff that engages your intellect and your imagination, and it's interpretive because it comes from something that a writer first conceived of. So there's this whole, you know, myriad of things that you do when you're acting that just make me happy. I mean, you know, I just love doing it, which is why I say yes to almost everything that comes in front of me. And the thing that I like about voice acting is that's the most result-oriented of all the performing arts. You know, you show up, you have an hour to record a show, and so when you show up, you're gonna go for the performance. There's no discussion, there's no rehearsal, there's no gestation period. You know, it's straight for like, you know, the gold ring. And I like that because it makes you act on a very kind of instinctive, primal level, and not second guess yourself and stuff. If you go too far, the director says, okay, pull it back a little bit. If you don't go far enough, it's the opposite. So it's lots of fun.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, my question's about Sons of Anarchy. Playing the character of Clay, how was it being somebody that someone loved to hate and hated to love at the same time?
You know, when you're playing a character, you don't have the luxury of getting to judge him. You know, your job is to figure out who he is and why he does what he does, and create a support system that will justify whatever his behavior entails. Now with Clay, his behavior entailed a lot of stuff that was questionable and even like, holy shit, I mean, how many lines has he crossed in this one single episode? But that was more for the audience to judge how many lines. For me, the exercise was, who is he, and what's driving him? And what's driving him is, he's convinced that he is the best leader that this family, which is this motorcycle club world, could possibly have, because he's fearless, he's ruthless, and he doesn't care how many toes he has to step on in order to protect his loved ones. And he doesn't care what the government thinks of him, or what society thinks of him, in his zeal to provide independence, financial independence to his family. We're gonna make a living, and I don't give a shit what the laws are, I don't give a shit what your values are. We're gonna make a living, and we're gonna be independent. We don't have to depend on anybody except ourselves. So I always thought Clay was a hero. And you know, if you watch some of the ways he became heroic, you may have a different interpretation of it than me, but that's what makes it fun to watch.
Thank you. And as an actor, you can't really, even if you're playing a character that the audience may view as the, you know, antagonist, you can't view them from a negative perspective at all.
Look, you know, when you get the gig, you say, okay, I'm the bad guy. I mean, so, but that's the last time you have the luxury of deciding good, bad, you know, right, wrong. Not, you just gotta you gotta find out who the guy is and why he is the way he is, and turn him into somebody who seems to exist in reality, even though he doesn't.
He was a great character. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say I loved Hellboy in the most heterosexual way possible.
I'm so glad you said that. Because you beat me right to it.
My question is, how heavy...
Let's have a hand for this guy. Let's have a hand for anybody who didn't love Hellboy in a heterosexual way. I feel better.
How heavy was the right hand on Hellboy?
Huh?
The right hand, the one where he puppeteered.
What was the question?
How heavy was it?
So there were 3 right hands. There was one that I just wore when it was just going to hang by my side. Then there was one that I was able to control because it was rubber, so I could do this with it and make a fist. And then there was a radioactively controlled one where the fingers did this or did this, or you know, did this kind of thing. And that was controlled by a puppeteer who was standing a few feet away from me. That was heavy because that had like gears and wires and stuff like that, and that was communicated with through in a robotic kind of a way. The other ones were light. And like if I had to punch somebody, that was usually the rubber one where I was able to turn into a fist and just boom and then go back. That was light.
Thank you.
But you wouldn't want to be in the way of it.
Wasn't that light? Thank you. Hi.
So I have a question about Book of Life. What was it like getting into the role as a Bulba, and will you reprise the role for the sequel?
If there's a sequel, I'd be happy to. I loved, so I described my experience of meeting and working with Guillermo del Toro when he was this young, unknown Mexican filmmaker who had nothing but enthusiasm and potential and incredible, like it was what's the word when you're around somebody and they're sick and you're contagious. And so Guillermo found another version of himself in this guy, Jorge Gutierrez, another 26-year-old Mexican who was making his first film. And Guillermo shepherded him through the whole studio system, got the movie financed, produced by Fox, and produced the movie himself. And it was almost as if having lightning strike twice, because he says to Jorge, you gotta consider putting Ron in the movie. And Jorge said, oh, you know. So it was like working with a young Guillermo del Toro for a second time, because he had the exact same kind of wiring, and he was another, you know, forgive me, Jorge, but another young fat Mexican. And, and I mean that in the most loving way, because these guys just love to live life at their fullest, including laughing and loving and writing and directing and eating. And that's kind of how I describe myself. I mean, I don't know when to put the brakes on. That was phenomenal, and I loved my relationship with Jorge on that movie. Was pure joy. loved what I was doing, continued to like encourage me to go further with it, go bigger with it, you know, like go as far as I wanted with it. And it was just a beautiful collaboration.
Thank you, Ron fucking Perlman.
That is one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love it. Hi.
Hi, Ron. I'm so sad we're not going to see you except in our minds as Cable, because you are Cable. We'll just face it now.
My favorite tweet, because I noticed, I didn't know who Cable was. I'm not a comic book guy. Even though I work in comic book movies and shit. I don't follow them, I have not, but I see it in the Twitterverse that people are like, Ron Perlman, Cable, and this thing is starting to like get a life of its own. And I'm trying not to comment, you know, because, you know, just in case Ryan Reynolds is reading these tweets, you know, he doesn't need some asshole going, hey man, what are you thinking over there, Ryan? You know? But my favorite, finally one day I weighed in and I said, you know, come to think of it, Cable should be playing me. And I don't know whether Brian saw that and that queered the deal, but you know.
If you, in a perfect world, if you got to choose any character, what character would you choose to play?
Well, I can't answer that question because I've played characters that are beyond anything I might have imagined and that I might have aspired to, including like right now, the show Crackle that I'm doing, the show Starlight. Like the character is deliciously complicated. The character I just finished doing for Amazon on Hand of God was among my favorites because it really took advantage of where I was in life in my mid-60s. This guy who has this power, but you know, is hit with these forces that he has no control over. So he's used to living this life of where he's in control, and he finally goes into this place where he has no control, and he's being led around by some higher force, which is meant to be God. That character blew my mind. You know, getting to play him blew my mind. It was like playing King Lear. And for an actor of my age, you know, in my you know, evolution, Lear is like the, if you're younger, you want to play Hamlet. Or if you get older, Lear is like the you know, the Holy Grail. And this was like playing Lear, but getting paid a lot of money to do it. So I've had more than my, Clay Morrow was a motherfucker of a character. You know, Hellboy was, you know, need I say more? How could I possibly dream of playing characters better than the ones I've already played? You know, I just can't do it.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron. I was wondering, at one point, Guillermo del Toro was slated to be the director of the Hobbit movie. Did he ever come up to you at some point while he was still attached to it and say, I got the perfect role for you?
Yes, I was supposed to be in both Hobbit movies when Del Toro was doing it, as the bear. And when he dropped out, I dropped out.
That's loyalty, both ways. He showed you loyalty and you showed him.
Hi, thank you for being here. With Hellboy, you worked very closely with a lot of practical creature effect artists and technicians. From your perspective as the actor, what made working with them enjoyable and or hell?
It's never hell. It's always pure fascination, number one. I mean, these guys are whack talent. I mean, you know, like, holy shit, you know. It's a combination of, you know, taking over your parents' garage and turning it into a chemical laboratory and creating all these creatures. And while you're doing it, you're breathing in these fumes, which is kind of making you fucked up. And then you're a genius on top of it. So, you know, that's who those guys are. You know, they're fucked up geniuses. And you know, I'm basically in the chair watching them do their magic. I have nothing to do with it except just sit there, try to sit there as still as possible, so I don't fuck up their process. And sit there and marvel at and they so love what they do. I mean, every one of them just like, they're so geeky. You know, truly geeks, man. You know, and so I'm a fanboy when it comes to those guys. And I've worked with the best. I mean, Rick Baker is in a class of his own. Mike Elizalde, who did, you know, I first met him on Blade 2 and did both Hellboy movies. I mean, amazing people.
Thank you very much. And by the way, your voice is amazing.
I'd like to thank Johnny Walker Black, Corey de Nicaragua, Dark Cigars for whatever voice I have left.
Hi.
Hi, I'm a Fallout fan from way back, and in Fallout 4 you didn't do exactly Ron the narrator, you were the news anchor, and you didn't get to say your signature line. Was that disappointing for you, or was it nice to do something a little different?
Actually, if you listen closely, I'm like a newscaster in that thing rather than a narrator. When he realizes that he's reporting on a world that's under siege, he says the phrase, "War never changes."
I didn't catch that, I'll have to go listen.
Huh?
I didn't catch that, so I'll have to go listen again.
Yeah, listen close, because it's in a different context, but he does say it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Ron. I got a question. If you could be any superhero, who would you be?
I just love being Hellboy, man. If I was going to play any other superhero after that, he'd have to measure up. He'd have to fill some pretty big shoes. And let me tell you why I say that, man. You guys have been hanging out with me now for about 30 minutes, right? You know I'm the biggest underachiever you've ever met. You can imagine what a slob I am. Hellboy lived with 55 cats. So just think about that room must have smelled like. All he wanted to do is eat pizza, right? And watch Marx Brothers movies. That's all he wanted to do. He did not want to save the world. He did not want to, be responsible for anybody's well-being. He was the biggest underachiever you've ever seen. And all he wanted to do is rank on his buddies, just like guys do, when they're, just trash talk. So there it was. Ron, Hellboy, Ron. How can I do better than that?
Hey, Ron. So you've been in more Fallouts than anyone. Like you were there from minute one. So what was that like when you were first approached by that? Did you think it was going to be anything like this, or was it just a paycheck?
Which one?
Fallout, when you first started out.
Did you know you'd have such longevity with that?
With what?
Fallout?
Oh, Fallout. No, I thought it was a piece of shit. A lame-ass video game. Some more guys think they're gonna kind of reinvent the wheel. Go ahead. Go ahead with your bad selves. And I thought it was literally a paycheck. And not a very big one, actually. But, I was raising a couple of kids. Like I said, I'd do anything. And then, when they called me for the second one, since I'm not a gamer, and since I don't follow that stuff, they were telling me, in the pantheon of games, this was huge. And I went, this piece of shit. And then there's a third one.